Welcome to Politics for Patriots. Here's your host, the eviscerator of progressive nonsense, the executioner of imbecility, and the grim reaper of BS, Eddie Zipperer.
If I were proprietor of the local vegan fast food restaurant, I would take the biggest nothing burger on the menu, the vegan equivalent of a double quarter pounder, and I would rename it the Trump-Russia collusion burger. It's never been more completely clear that Trump-Russia collusion is, was, and always has been meatless, cheeseless, nothing burger of a scam designed to buy time and distract the American people until Bob Mueller can find a cow to slice and dice and serve up. But Mueller is not going to find a cow. So beef is out. You can forget about it. Nobody's having beef. All right, his next hope was to find a turkey. That would have left most of us going, oh no, a turkey burger. Nobody wants that. But he can't even find that. He can't even serve up a rat burger. So now he is going to give us the most expensive hunk of tofu ever cooked up and try to tell us it's a cow. And the 24-hour media is going to bite into that tofu burger and pretend, that's 100% grade A premium ground beef. Unfortunately for them, the American people are going to get one taste and spit it out. This is a big, fat, nothing burger. What proves it to me more than anything else is the desperation on the side of the Democrats to impeach Trump. They have gone completely impeachment happy. This is the whole Democratic Party right now.
Impeach 45!
They want to impeach President Trump over mere innuendo that he broke a phantom campaign finance law. Okay, here's the problem. What happens is you have a real, actual story. David Pecker granted immunity. All right, that's an actual thing that happened. But then they bring on analysts all day to tell you over and over that David Pecker has all these good... They're just speculating. It's made up. And you hear it, they repeat it so often that people start to think that these made up, this speculation is actually real news stories, when it's not. It's just made up. It's innuendo. All right, if you're a detective and you want to take somebody down, I'm talking about a big mob, you want to take down a great big mob boss or a great big drug lord, right? And you've been waiting to take them down. What do? You don't follow them around and wait for them to jaywalk. You're not going to be like, haha, Vito Corleone, we've got you now, you dirty jaywalking bastard. Maybe this $20 fine will make you think twice about running an organized crime family. All right, if they really thought that President Trump colluded with Russia, they'd be waiting for that shoe to drop. They would be waiting for evidence of that. But everyone in America now sees that there is no Trump-Russia collusion. All right, everyone knows that was a pipe dream from the beginning. The liberals, the Democrats, the left, they know that they're just Don Quixote playing games. And then that great big Trump-Russia collusion giant is actually just a windmill. And most of the other anti-Trump media narratives are nothing but windmills that the liberals are pretending are giants. And no windmill is ever going to get a president of the United States removed from office.
Windmills do not work that way!
The fact that the Democrats are so impeachment happy now,
Impeach 45!
just goes to show that all of their big, oh, Trump is a criminal, all those hopes have died. And they are ready now to settle for anything that looks bad. And make no mistake, they are totally impeachment happy. Bill DeAgostino did a piece for Newsbusters, and you can read it yourself at newsbusters.org. It covers a content analysis of the 24-hour news networks. On August 22nd, between 6 a.m. and midnight, the word impeachment was uttered 222 times on those networks. That is 12 times an hour, which works out exactly to once every 5 minutes. That is a lot of impeachment talk. And this is how ideas are pushed in politics on both sides of the aisle. Both sides do this. This is how ideas are pushed. All right, that's why there are top-down talking points in politics. That's what the whole echo chamber description is all about. You remember Hans Gruber and Ben Rhodes from... Did I just say Hans Gruber? I think I did. I said Hans Gruber. That's awesome. Total accident. I meant to say Jonathan Gruber. I always do that. I always accidentally say Hans Gruber instead of Jonathan Gruber. Hans Gruber is not from the Obama administration. Hans Gruber is actually the main bad guy in the greatest movie of all time, Die Hard. Hans Gruber is this guy.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Alright, so sorry about that. I meant to say Jonathan Gruber. Though, I will say, I like Jonathan Gruber about the same amount as I like Hans Gruber. Anyway, Jonathan Gruber and Ben Rhodes both used the echo chamber to create an ocean of BS around Obama accomplishments. And I know you can't see my finger quotes, but anytime you hear me say Obama accomplishments, you can be sure that finger quotes abound. And they weren't just Obama accomplishments that Ben Rhodes and Jonathan Gruber used the echo chamber of BS to push for. They were the two big Obama accomplishments. It was the legacy item of each term. All right, first term, Obamacare. Second term, the Iran Joint Compact, or the Iran deal. They were both terrible pieces of policy that were deeply unpopular among the American people. So in order to bolster them and force them down our throats, they made use of the media as echo chamber. Afterwards, sadly for Obama, both of these guys were so impressed with their propaganda victory that they just couldn't stand to keep quiet about it. They were like Dustin Hoffman at the end of, what is that movie called? Dustin Hoffman at the end of Wag the Dog. They were like Dustin Hoffman at the end of that movie. And he was like, you know, he had committed the giant fraud, and he couldn't stand not to get the credit. He said, I want the credit. I want the credit.
I want the credit.
And Robert De Niro is like, hey man, you're playing with your life here. But he wants the credit so bad that he can't keep his mouth shut. Because he was just so impressed with the fraud that he committed that he couldn't stand the idea of not getting credit. It was worse than death to not get credit for the fraud that he committed. And he was just over the moon impressed with himself.
Look at that! That is a complete fucking fraud, and it looks 100% real.
Alright, that is the exact same thing that happened to Gruber and Rhodes. Gruber looked at Obamacare and he basically said,
look at that! That is a complete fucking fraud, and it looks 100% real.
Right, and then Ben Rhodes looked at the Iran deal and he said,
look at that! That is a complete fucking fraud, and it looks 100% real.
I want the credit. They wanted the credit. So they both ran their mouths about the propaganda campaigns that they had run. Gruber said this.
This bill was written in a tortured way to make sure CBO did not score the mandate as taxes. If CBO scored the mandate as taxes, the bill dies. Okay, so it's written to do that. In terms of risk-rated subsidies, if you had a law which said healthy people are going to pay in, it made explicit that healthy people pay in and sick people get money, it would not have passed. Okay, just like lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass.
It was written in a tortured way to fool the CBO. We relied on the stupidity of the American voter. Did I say I liked him about the same amount as I like Hans Gruber? Did I say that earlier? After listening to the audio again, I've changed my mind. I prefer Hans Gruber to Jonathan Gruber. All right, so Ben Rhodes, same situation. He said, and unfortunately I don't have audio of this one, it's in print, but here's what he said. Here's how he managed to create a positive echo chamber to cram the terrible, disastrous Iran deal down everyone's throat. Quote, all these newspapers used to have foreign bureaus. Now they don't. They call us to explain to them what's happening in Moscow and Cairo. Most of the outlets are reporting on world events from Washington. The average reporter we talk to is 27 years old, and their only reporting experience consists of being around political campaigns. That's a sea change. They literally know nothing. Okay, so Ben Rhodes and Jonathan Gruber could have done this and kept their mouths shut about it. If they kept their mouths shut about it, people like me would be sitting here telling you, yeah, I really, really think you can see how they did it. But we don't have to do that because they actually just couldn't keep it quiet. So they just admitted it. They told us that they did it. Why in the world would you run a propaganda campaign and try to fool everybody and then later tell everyone you did it? Well, there's only one reason.
I want the credit.
So, good job there, morons. You think that would work for Donald Trump? Of course not. These two guys can go ahead and be a little less impressed with themselves. Their misinformation campaigns didn't work because they're super geniuses. Okay, it wasn't peaky in the brain. It's not like Ben Rhodes and Obama were standing there and Rhodes said, Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? Okay, you guys are not geniuses. The media echoed you because they serve the leftist agenda at all times without skepticism. Gruber thinks that he preyed on the stupidity of the American people. No, he didn't. He preyed on the stupidity of the American media and the American Congress. The American people never believed him. What the hell are you talking about, Gruber? Obamacare approval was in the 30s when it passed. And then we sent an army of Republicans to Congress to stop Obamacare starting in 2010. It was never the stupidity of the American people. It was the stupidity of the American media. So at least Ben Rhodes got it right. He said it was the stupidity of the media. Well, you know what? Not stupidity. Stupidity is actually the wrong word here. Complicity is the correct word. It was the complicity of the media in both instances. So let's be real. 27-year-old reporters aren't going to mindlessly parrot anything for the Trump administration. And neither is the rest of the media, right? These are the people that told us Kim Jong-un was going to nuke us because Trump used too many cold pricklies on Twitter. Hurt his feelings. Then a few months later, the leaders are meeting for a promising summit. None of these dummies think we're going to get nuked anymore, so they destroy Trump for the summit. Now they're criticizing Trump for too many warm fuzzies. They were mad about the cold pricklies. Now the warm fuzzies are setting them off. Maybe it's an overcorrection. Maybe after 8 straight years of serving as the styrofoam peanuts in the Obama box, 8 straight years of protecting and never criticizing and never feeling an ounce of skepticism, now they have reserves to spend. So whatever the case, Now the echo chamber meltdown du jour is over Michael Cohen's plea deal. And that's the progenitor of the media's latest impeach-orama news cycle. And like I was saying earlier in the show, this serves as the greatest proof to me that there is no Trump-Russia collusion, and they know it. If there was Trump-Russia collusion, or even just if they believed there was, there is no way ever that they would support impeaching President Trump over a campaign finance issue that looks from here like it was not illegal. Okay? They have no idea if he actually broke the law. I mean, they sure as hell hope he did. They sure as hell are speculating everywhere that he did. But they don't know that he did. If they believe there was any scrap out there of Trump-Russia anything, they would want to wait for it before even uttering the word impeachment. Why? Because impeaching the president is a tremendous expenditure of political capital. And removing him from office, which is not the same as impeachment. People use that interchangeably. Impeaching the president is not removing the president from office. So actually removing the president from office after he is impeached requires a tremendous amount of bipartisanship. I love America. I love the Constitution. And I love the framers of the Constitution. Well done, James Madison. James Madison was a little short guy, just a bit over 5 feet tall. His political enemies used to call him Little Jimmy. And you thought that Little Marco was a brand new thing Trump came up with. No, calling people little goes way back in American politics. All right, so they used to call him Little Jimmy, or His Little Majesty, or my favorite, Little Old Applejohn. Those insult nicknames are all gone now, though. They're all gone. Most people don't know that James Madison was ever called those things. Now we just call him the father of the Constitution. When it comes to posthumous nicknames, you can't do much better than the father of the Constitution. The framers knew that political factions would attempt to destroy everything in their quest to be in power. So, brilliantly, the framers made that impossible. Here's something you'll hear a lot in the mainstream media for the next few months. What constitutes high crimes and misdemeanors? In other words, what can the president be impeached for? The answer? Anything. High crimes and misdemeanors are whatever 218 representatives in the House are willing to call high crimes and misdemeanors. If 218 House members want to impeach the president, they can impeach the president. Impeachment happens entirely within the House of Representatives. The Senate has nothing to do with impeaching. All right? The president can be impeached for a bad haircut. If you can find 218 takers in the House of Representatives, you won't, but nobody can stop you from trying. But if you have a partisan enough House, you can impeach the president for non-crimes, phony crimes. You can impeach President Trump for the appearance of a crime. You can impeach President You can impeach President Trump for the crime that has been his crime all along. The crime of being elected against the will of the swamp. That is President Trump's real crime. But you won't find 218 takers for that one. So instead, they sent Mueller to hunt for something that 218 reps are willing to call a crime. That is why Mueller is there. And this is an aside, but don't be fooled into believing that if Democrats take back the House, Trump will be impeached. If there are 218 Democrats, that won't be enough to string the president up on bogus charges. It may be enough to say, well, yay, we took back the House, now we're in charge of the committees, we're not going to have these investigations anymore. They can do that, which would be awful, because then we will never get to the bottom of Spygate if the Democrats take back the House and stop those investigations. But just merely having a majority, a barely majority, won't be enough for the Democrats to impeach President Trump for non-crimes. They will need a cushion of several representatives to pull that off. They will need at least 230 Democrats, at the very least. And I really don't see that happening. Their only real hope at this point is that the Mueller team and the media echo chamber can create the impression of crimes out of non-crimes. But so what if he does get impeached? I mean, I don't want him to, but an impeachment is not removal from office. People use those interchangeably all the time. It's something I tell my students every single quarter. I have to explain to them that an impeachment is not removal from office. It's just a charge. It's just being charged with a high crime or misdemeanor. All right, there's a whole due process for that charge that happens in the Senate after the impeachment. To remove the president, you need 2/3 of the Senate to convict. That is 67 out of 100 senators. No fake crime is ever going to get 67 senators on board to remove the president. And that is by design. That's why the Democrats wanted to make it illegal for Trump to fire Mueller. Then they could impeach him for firing Mueller, and he would actually have broken the law. That's how they set up Andrew Johnson, an unelected president. He took over when Abraham Lincoln was killed, and he was a Democrat. Lincoln was a Republican. His vice president, Johnson, was a Democrat. That Democrat became president of the United States. It was a huge mess. You had a cabinet full of Republicans and a Congress full of Republicans, and they passed a law. A law which we now know to be unconstitutional, called the Tenure of Office Act, which made it illegal for Johnson to fire cabinet members who had been confirmed by the Senate without the Senate confirming the firing. Then, when Johnson did fire a cabinet member, Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, the House ended up impeaching him for it. The Senate reinstated Stanton while the president appointed Lorenzo Thomas as interim secretary. So the president said Lorenzo Thomas is the interim secretary. The Senate said no, Stanton is the secretary. And Thomas, who was the president's appointment, was arrested for illegal seizure of the office. So when Andrew Johnson got impeached, his policies aside, it was actually Congress that was off their rocker and assaulting the Constitution with that impeachment. And still, after all of that, they could not get 2/3 of the Senate to convict Johnson. And notably, they wouldn't have had ground to stand on for impeaching him if they hadn't authored a law for him to break. It was a total setup. And that's what President Trump is dealing with now. A similar attempt to set him up. But it's going to be harder because it isn't the Congress that's against him in huge numbers. It's the bureaucracy that is against President Trump in huge numbers. Bill Clinton was impeached on 1 count of perjury and 1 count of obstruction of justice. Those are the 2 counts that passed. All right, there were 2 articles of impeachment that couldn't even get a simple majority in the House. So 2 got the simple majority. Clinton was impeached. And the Senate did not even come close to removing him from office for those 2 crimes. Not even close. So the point of all this, if anyone on the left actually believed in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, the double quarter-pound nothing burger, they would want to wait for that evidence to come out before impeaching. If they actually believed in the Trump-Russia nothing burger, if they actually believed it was a something burger, they would want to wait for the evidence to come out before impeaching. Because what if they impeach Trump now and then we go through the whole process, and then they get something they like better later, it's too late. You're not going to have the political capital for 2 impeachments. That's asinine. That's not happening. So if they really believed this stuff was going to come out, they would wait to impeach. They wouldn't be eager to impeach right now. So they're really, really showing their hand here. Of course, every story of Trump-Russia collusion that's been trotted out by the media has been obliterated. There's been retractions, there's been firings, there's been apologies, because they can't get it right. Most recently, Cohen going to Prague was just squelched by, of all people, unapologetic Clintonite Lanny Davis. He squelched that. That was in the dossier. Cohen went to Prague. Cohen didn't go to Prague. We found out from his lawyer. So instead, the Trump-Russia narrative we've all had to sit through for Trump's entire presidency is fading into the background, and the media and the Democrats and the resistance are all going to pretend that whatever scrap of tofu Mueller can scrape up, that's the burger we've all been waiting for. Oh, that's so good. That just fills me up. They're going to go full-on Gruber and try to prey upon the stupidity of the American people. That is what they are trying to do. They are going to try to prey upon the stupidity of the American people. But they're going to find out that no such thing ever existed. What the left thinks is the stupidity of the American people is actually the complicity of the American media. The people aren't fooled. CNN and MSNBC hosts can ask, should Trump be impeached? And every pundit and every Democrat and every hashtag resistance idiot on Twitter can say, oh. Yep. But the American people will not be fooled. President Trump, unless real evidence of criminality emerges, and I don't see that happening. I don't think that the Democrats think that's going to happen. He's now officially the most thoroughly vetted president in American history. No other president has ever been vetted this thoroughly, because you don't usually get to say, we're going to have a special counsel look at your whole life right now, like the minute he became president. Trump is going to be president until the last day of his term. Mark my words on that. Trump is going to be president until the last day of his term. And maybe longer. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Please subscribe on iTunes if you can. I would so appreciate if you would leave a review on iTunes. That would be huge for me. Most of all, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. That's it for me. I'm out of here.
Windmills do not work that way!
You just listened to Politics for Patriots with Eddie Zipper. Email the show at patriots@eddiezipper.com. And please subscribe.